Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Mandalorian discussion video. For those of you who don't know, these weekly videos are very graciously sponsored by Vite Ramen. In case you're not up to date on your noodle news, and yeah, I made that up myself, Vite Ramen is basically a premium ramen. It is a little bit more expensive than something you'd find at a grocery store, at least I suppose. I don't buy ramen in a grocery store anymore, but it's way tastier, it's also way healthier and has a lot less sodium, and Vite Ramen actually pays their employees a living wage, which is, pretty cool. The website has a bunch of different flavors. I'm sure you can find something to meet your needs, and it also has variety packs. So consider checking that out. I'll put a link down in the description. Follow that and use the code Mandalorian and you'll get 15% off. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little offended that they changed the code from EckhartsLadder. I think it's because I called it Vite Ramen last time when the pronunciation is Vite, but that's on them, and I actually re-recorded it, but I don't want to get into mudslinging here. Just check out the ramen, it's really good. I absolutely love working with this company. They don't tell me what to say, they just let me free. So feel free to spam hashtag Blessed Noodle Merchant down in the comments and check out the link with the code Mandalorian. Anyway, back on topic. The great thing about this series is because I'm not so much worried about the views given that it is sponsored, I can kind of just talk about whatever I want while also doing a review of the episode. And today I want to talk about something as a fan that I think a lot of you can relate to, looking at reviews for something before it's live. I made the mistake of doing that for episode 4 of The Mandalorian, and I definitely won't do it again. Although I saw very few people actually saying episode 4 was bad, I did see a lot of posts saying that it was the worst of the 4, or that it wasn't that great. And given that this was the first episode that I wasn't able to stay up to watch, i.e. I could actually read the reviews before watching it, that definitely colored my expectations going in. But I gotta say, especially after watching the episode a second time, I just cannot agree. I really enjoyed episode 4 of The Mandalorian. I was ready to do a more negative video if it wasn't good, but you know what? I really enjoyed it. There are a few prevailing themes that people are worried about with this show. One is the plot not going anywhere, and each individual episode sort of seeming like a monster of the week situation. We certainly had those similar complaints with episode 2 when the Mandalorian faced the Mudhorn, but with that episode as with this one, I think we're seeing that this show is more than willing to slow down and to take time developing characters. And that's one thing that I want to start off my review by focusing on, the development of characters. Although some people see Baby Yoda as just a tool to sell toys, this episode really highlighted how the relationship between the Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda, or the child as they call him on the show, is developing. Initially, the Mandalorian saved him because he felt guilty, but more and more we see him develop an actual paternal connection to the child, which also reveals a little bit about himself. This was probably the episode where the Mandalorian talked the most. He joked around with Baby Yoda, he called him a little womp rat, he talked to the people in the town, including the widow, quite a bit, and he sure didn't correct anybody when they called Baby Yoda his son or his kid. But we also got a lot to learn about his internal struggles of being a Mandalorian. It is a hard life. He can't take his mask off in front of anyone. He's basically always on and can't form personal connections, despite how much he would want to. You can tell during this recent episode that he really wanted to stay with the town, or at least part of him did. But his sense of duty and what he felt like he owed the rest of the Mandalorian culture prevented him to do so. But in a way, Baby Yoda almost stepped in as a surrogate. The two had very similar beginnings. They were saved from certain death by a stranger. Where the Mandalorian was forced to fully adopt this warrior lifestyle, he wants something better for his child. Even though he clearly enjoys spending time with him and being with him, he is more than willing to leave him at the town because he thinks that presents him with the best chance of a happy life. And trust me, as a father, the one thing you want most for your children is for them to have a better life than you did. But with that little tangent out of the way, I want to talk about the things that I did like in this episode, and I'll also talk about the things that I didn't like, but I can't think of a whole lot. First of all, for the first time, we started off not from the Mandalorian's perspective, seeing what was going on in the town. I was really wondering whether we'd get shots not from the Mandalorian's perspective, and while I don't think it will be common, I think it's basically a perfect way to set up an episode. Then we fly into the planet and we get another thing that I've been absolutely loving about this series. We get to see a slice of life in the Star Wars universe. I said, I think for my episode 2 review, that one of my favorite things about this show has just been the time the characters have spent walking around, looking at common situations, showing us what a street in the Star Wars universe would look like, what a bar would look like. And here we get the restaurant. More aliens, more cool little thingamajigs in the background, and of course some droids. The set design in this show has been absolutely incredible and continues to blow me away. One of the only parts of the episode I didn't like was actually in this sort of bar when we meet the waitress. I thought she was really off for some reason. Her acting just wasn't quite up with everyone else's, but it was kind of funny how naive she was to the Mandalorian trying to pay her off, and that's what we get with this sort of backwater world. I really liked Cara Dune. I thought she was very believable as a rebel freedom fighter and a shock trooper. I thought she was totally badass, but even though she gets the jump on the Mandalorian, he still fights her to a standstill, kind of just showing how tough he is, but she carries her own throughout the episode, no questions asked. Then we get in the town, and again, it's like straight out of Red Dead Redemption or an old western. It's got a believable little community. Baby Yoda is sort of shunted to the back burner, but is still able to be super cute. And we get some awesome action with the ATS team. My only complaint about the battle scenes, I guess, would be that they were a little too dark, but overall, the Walker was incredibly animated. I'm not sure if it was some combination of a miniature and CG. I'm assuming just CG, but it looked absolutely phenomenal. I assume the darkness was maybe to hide some of the imperfections on the model or whatever else, but I was so blown away by how good it looks. I honestly don't think we've ever seen a Walker look better, certainly not in the prequels and arguably not in the original trilogy. The good guys win, we get a time jump, and the Mandalorian now is off to another planet. So yeah, on its face it doesn't seem like much happens, but we get a lot of character development and we get to see both of our main characters in a completely different light. That being said, I do understand the complaint that some people have. I think it's valid if they don't feel like the plot is moving forward, but I think we need to look at the structure of this season. It's clear that the first 3 episodes were setting up the main story of the season. It's kind of a closed arc with the Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda now being off on their own. We actually have episode descriptions, very brief ones for episode 5 and episode 6. I'll give you a second if you want to click away. It's not much of a spoiler, but episode 5 tells us the Mandalorian helps a rookie bounty hunter who is in over his head. Then episode 6, the Mandalorian joins a crew of mercenaries on a dangerous mission. So it seems like the structure of this season will be the opening arc, maybe a few transitionary episodes in the middle, and then perhaps the heist will be the last big thing and will set up season 2. A lot of people are freaking out because they feel like they're not sure where the show is headed, but you have to remember, aside from the 8 episodes we have this season, we also have a whole second season and perhaps beyond. Personally, for me, the show has earned my trust. After reading the reviews to episode 4, I know that I'm pretty much all in, and I'm not even going to bother reading the reviews for the future one. I'll just enjoy the discussions and the excitement that I now have to look forward to every week. It's been a very long time since I've been this excited for Star Wars content, as I've talked about in the past, and it's been really awesome to know that in the very early hours of Friday morning, I've got this ritual to look forward to, and I've got this thing that I can discuss with Star Wars fans. All in all, I would rate all of these episodes very, very highly. If I were to put them in order, I think right now number 2 is my favorite, then we have maybe 1, 4, and 3. But that opinion is just mine. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. Let me know, did you enjoy this episode? What are you looking for future ones? And overall, how would you rate the series? I'll read all of your comments, so make sure you leave them, and also spam the hashtag #BlessedNoodleMerchant. Anyway, until next time guys, special thank you again to Veet Ramen for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you next time.